Bree Andersen and I'm a physiotherapist. Today I'm going to take you through a class that's Pilates inspired to work on some mobility through the back and stability across the shoulders. Our first movement is going to be starting on the floor on our back. So this is our crook lying position. We have our heels directly in line with our bottom. Our lower back is in a nice neutral position and we take our hands to lay flat, palm down on the ground. In this position, the first movement we're going to be doing is pelvic tilts. I want you to take your tailbone towards the ground, opening up through the lower back. Then we're going to close that down by tucking the tailbone under between the legs and back again. This is a really nice exercise just to warm up your lower back. We're trying to keep all of your muscles out of the movement here. We're just using gravity to rock back and forth, feeling that the stomach muscles and the back muscles are completely relaxed. You're getting more of the movement by pushing and pulling through your heels on the ground for just some flexibility in our back. We're going to start to extend that movement now to move into what's called a rolling bridge. So a rolling bridge is where we're going to tuck through our tailbone and start to move off the ground all the way up into a bridge and all the way back down. With this movement, what you should be able to see is that each segment of my spine comes off the ground one after the other, and then as we go back down, we should feel each segment hit the ground one after the other. You should be feeling this movement through the glute muscles here at the back, slightly through the hamstrings, and a little bit of abdominal muscles coming on at the top of the movement to hold your spine in a neutral position once you reach the top. We're just going to continue rolling through these bridges to work through those glutes and encourage that lumbar spine movement. Still really focusing on one segment of the back after the other, zipping and unzipping from the floor. Try to make sure we roll all the way to the top of the bridge so you can feel the weight coming through the shoulders and then collapsing down again to bring the weight to the pelvis. Make sure you keep your knees out in line with your hips so they're not squeezing in as we go through. Good, and relax. We're going to move now into a glute stretch. So I'd like you to put your heel over the top of your knee, and then we're going to take that knee across to the side, taking your arm wide and helping with the other hand bring the knee towards the ground. We're going to hold this position for 30 seconds here. Should feel a nice stretch up the back of the glute and slightly into the lower back that we've just been working on. We're going to go ahead and change sides, so bringing your feet back to crook lying, taking your heel over your knee, take the knee across the body and the arm nice and wide to stabilize there, holding that position for a stretch. Again, feeling it through the back of the hip, coming up into the lower back for a nice stretch where we've just been working. Coming back into your crook lying now, we want to take our hands from the ground. Fingertips are pointing directly towards the roof, and we're going to be lifting as if you've got a ball between your hands. Take your fingertips away from the ground and and then let those sink back in. So we call this movement protraction, retraction. Protraction as you're going forward, away from the spine. Retraction as you're pulling those shoulder blades back towards the ground. Try not to open and close your hands as you go up and down. Really feel that you're going in a straight line, directly towards the roof, directly back down to the ground. Think about that neutral spinal position, so pelvis flat on the ground here, and just resting, no activation through that area. It's all of your shoulders doing the work here. We're going to increase this movement now. So as your fingertips go away, I'd like you to tuck your chin to your chest. It's really important here that you do bring your chin all the way to your chest so that you're not getting any excessive movement or excessive muscle activation through the muscles of the neck. And we're going to reach up, continue to reach up in that straight line. We don't want to reach forward in a normal crunch. We are just protracting through our shoulders, tucking our chin and reaching to the roof. You'll get activation through this top part of your abdominals here. So we're just moving away. We're going to go for 10 more. If you are feeling it in your neck more than you feel that you should, you can take your hands behind your head, still trying to go directly up towards the roof rather than forward towards your knees in this movement. 5 to go. And relax. Take the arms apart, bring your feet nice and close together, and we are taking your knees across the body towards the ground and back. Just a nice rotation through the lower back to stretch out after that hard work. If you really try and keep your shoulder on the ground and draw the knees across towards the ground, you'll get a really nice stretch all the way up through the spine. So even taking a deep breath out, take that shoulder to the ground and you get a nice stretch across the lower back as you go side to side. Good. We're going to build into a new, we're going to extend now our mobility through our back into what's called a roll up. So we'll take our legs nice and straight, hands over the top of your head. We're going to go a roll off the ground from the head all the way down to the base of the spine. The movement in total looks like this. Sitting all the way up on top of your sit bones and coming back to the ground slowly. If you're comfortable with that movement, you can go ahead with that now. The alternatives we have are starting from the top and just rolling away until you feel comfortable and sitting back up. Our other alternative is back into this position, tucking through, lifting and coming back down. I'd like you to stay at a level that you feel comfortable, You can even change to bending your knees and going back to our original movement, which is here. So at whatever level that you are comfortable, we're going through roll-ups or a modified roll-up. Feeling as you go down that each segment of the spine hits one after the other. You're seeing that your feet don't come off the ground. The more that you can use mobility through the spine, the easier this movement is. So the more that you can curve as you go down and curve as you come up, the easier the movement is. At the top of the movement, I'd really like to see you build yourself up all the way into that neutral spine position before you then roll away again. We're going for 2 more. And we'll take a short break. And our last one here, finishing off in line. Allow yourself to extend in this position and just breathe away. Let your abdominals have a rest and feel that stretch extend all the way through the body. We're moving now into a side lying position. So, rolling over onto one side, I'd like you to take your arm up and support your head. Your bottom leg is bent just slightly and your top leg is straight. If you are uncomfortable in this position, you have the option of using a towel to support the head and taking the arm out in front in that position. We're firstly going to build ourselves up into neutral. So to do that, I'd like you to think about taking a breath out and doing a small crunch from the bottom of the ribs. You're then going to lift as if you're trying to pull the skin of the stomach away from the ground to create a small gap, and you should feel that bring on the obliques or the muscles on the side of your stomach. The top hip, I want you to feel like someone's dragged that away or taken the bottom foot away from, the top foot away from the body. And this is our neutral position on our side. So we have a straight line from the top of the head through to the tailbone with no curving towards the ground because of gravity. We're now using those muscles to hold us up. Take a hand to the hip. The first movement we're going to do is called hip abduction or a leg lift. We're going to lift the leg so it is in line with the body, hold for 1 to 2 seconds and then lower. We're going to go through 20 of these. You should feel this movement in the back of your glute. If you can't and you're feeling it through the front, roll slightly forward, turn your foot down, and that should bring the movement through to the back. Don't forget to maintain that lift from the ground. You don't want to, as you lift your leg, collapse in. We're then losing our abdominal movement or our abdominal activation there. We should be at about 10. You should have 5 to go, really feeling that glute working nice and hard, and the abdominal muscles through the bottom side should also be working nice and hard to maintain that neutral position. Don't forget to lower the top of the bottom of the ribs so that we're not flaring open, we're actually controlling through that position. And relax. We're going to swap through sides, build up that neutral position again. So arm out in front or the towel if you would prefer. Bottom knee is bent, the top leg is nice and straight. Feel the compression of the bottom of the rib cage, the opening through the stomach away from the ground here to bring on the obliques, and the dragging away of the top hip. We're going again into 20. This movement should be felt entirely in the glute. Again, if you're feeling it through the front of the hip, we need to roll forward, turn the toe down, and maintain that gap between the ground and your stomach so that the oblique muscle is doing its work there. Try and make the hand nice and light. We don't want to be pushing through the ground for stability. We really want to be relying on that abdominals. And that top glute should be getting nice and tired. And we have 8 to go. Excellent. We're going to take this movement back to our original side. For those of you who want to extend the movement, we're going to go up one level. If you are happy with that level, please stay at that level. We're going to go through a second set. Same position, length through the body, lift from the abdominals, drag that top foot. We're going to lift and hold, and this time we're going to go for a circle. So instead of 20 lifts, we are going to be doing 30 circles. If you want to stay at the level below, you felt that was enough activation for your glute, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, the rest, we're coming with me with 30 circles. Just really small circles. You try to maintain that position through your abdomen. You should be up to 10. This becomes more demanding on the obliques so that you're not falling open and collapsing through that area as the leg turns. We should have 10 to go. Remember, all in the back of the glute, so keep the toe turned down. Really feel like the movement is coming from a turn of the heel. And relax. Coming back to the other side. Whew, you should really feel your glutes burning at this stage. This is our last glute exercise on our side lying position. So supporting the head with the arm, bottom leg is bent, top leg is straight, open through to feel the oblique switched on, dragging the top hip, lifting, and we're going through our circles. Remember, if you wanted to stay at our first level, you are absolutely free to do so. This is more challenging on your abdominals. You really want to feel that you're not collapsing back towards the ground as that leg does its circles. We are at 10. Again, you want to make sure it's all in the back of the leg with the toe facing down. And we have 10 to go. Really work through the abdominals. Try not to collapse through that area at the middle. And relax. Excellent work. I've just moved us to being on our hands and our knees. And we're going to stretch through those glutes that we just worked really hard. So take your knee up towards your opposite hand and straighten out the other leg. If you feel comfortable here and you're getting a nice stretch, you can stay here. Otherwise, bringing that down to the elbows, and we're going to stay here for a stretch. You should feel that around the back of the glute on the leg that you've brought towards your hand and slightly up into the lower back, but mostly on the outside of that hip. Take some deep breaths to deepen into that stretch. Even drag that bottom leg away slightly. And let's swap through. Coming back into that 4-point kneel, take your knee to your opposite hand and straighten out your bottom leg. Stay here if you feel comfortable, or deepen by bringing the elbows to the ground. You should feel that stretch all the way through from the lower back around the hip and mostly through that outside of the glute. Try and really relax into the stretch. Take deep breaths to switch off the muscles and drag that bottom leg away to try and deepen the stretch again. The stretch should feel comfortable, not painful. And we're going to come up into our 4-point kneel position here. So, your hands should be directly underneath your shoulders and your knees should be directly underneath your hips. We're going to try and hold a neutral spine position. So you think about your pelvis being flat with the ground. The hip bones at the front should face directly down the front of the thigh. Your hands should be directly underneath the shoulders, and I want you to feel like you're just pushing the ground away. You're trying to keep your chest away from the ground just slightly to feel the strength across there. In this position, what we are going to be doing is just taking one arm out to the side, trying to maintain that neutral position and swapping through. So really just gaining some bit of stability across the shoulders. You should feel your abdominal muscles through here. Switch on as you alternate side to side. The further away your hand gets from your center, the more those abdominal muscles should be working. You want to keep your chin in line with the chest so that the back of your neck stays nice and long as we go through this movement. And try and keep your weight even between your hands and your knees. So you shouldn't be all the way back here on your knees and not all the way forward on just your hands, but quite even between the two. If your wrists start to get sore, a nice position to go onto is actually your knuckles here. That neutral wrist position really helps on compressing through that area and where you may get a little bit of pain. If you're feeling comfortable though, you can stay flat on your hands. Don't forget to be pushing away from the ground with the chest to stay strong through the shoulder. Excellent. We're going to come into a child pose position to just take some weight off the hands and give those wrists a rest. We're going to extend the movement now, so back up in our neutral spine position in our 4-point kneel. If you'd like to stay at that level, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, we're going to be taking one arm out to the side, and at the same time, our opposite leg is going out. So the full movement will look like this, and we're going to be alternating from side to side. This is going to put a greater demand on our abdominal muscles, and we want to work really hard not to move from our neutral spine. A lot of people try and kick their leg too high, so at the back, think about going for length. Your toe is reaching for the wall behind you, not up into the sky. If you do reach up into the sky, you'll notice that your hip lifts. We want to try and keep the hips level from side to side, the pelvis level, and again those hip bones facing directly down towards the ground as we alternate from side to side with this movement. Again, if your wrists are becoming uncomfortable, you can go into that knuckles position as we continue to alternate side to side. Think about lifting the chest away from the ground still. So we're feeling nice and strong across the back of the shoulder blades. And we've got nice activation through the abdominals there. You also want to watch that you're not shifting side to side through the movement, staying nice and level. As if you're stuck between two panes of glass and you don't want to touch it with your hip on either side as you alternate. And relax into your child pose position. Into standing, so tuck the toes under, bring your hands back in line with the knees to push, your tailbone towards the roof, and slowly rolling up. So, with our final movement here in standing, we're just going to be letting the shoulders roll forward. Think about your thumbs tucking under, the backs of the hands coming together as you curve through the spine. You're going to open the chest, turn the thumbs out. Start tucking the chin towards the chest, increasing that curve through the upper spine, making the movement slightly bigger. And then we're going to start coming forward and reaching forward into a roll down towards the ground, coming up and opening up. I hope you enjoyed our session today. If you want to do some sessions with me in the clinic, my business is Thrive Physiotherapy and we can be found in Janali in New South Wales. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the class and I hope to see you in the next one.